Hey guys, it's Charlene. Today I'm going to be using the Beach Break cover plate die, and then I'm going to be using the coordinating Beach Break stencils. These are really cool because they help you easily color in a beautiful background. So I'll cut these out of white cardstock. I've cut them out and you can see all of that beautiful embossed detail that the cover plate die leaves on there. And then this top piece will be the surf, so it looks like it's washing up on the sand. I'll start with the main piece. I have a very light tan here, and I'm going to lightly color my entire piece of cardstock. I don't want it to be too dark. I just want it to look like some nice beachy sand. So I'll start from the bottom here because you're not going to see that bottom part, and I'll bring the ink up all the way across the piece of cardstock. Now that I have a light tan over everything, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my sticky mat to help me hold my stencils down. I'll place this right here in the center and bring in the stencils. There's two different layers. I'm going to start with the one that has these little dots on it. Those are actually going to line up perfectly with the embossed sand dots. So I'll center this over the top and press it down all the way around. Then I'll come in with the exact same color, only this time I'm going to come in with a heavy hand. I'm also going to kind of stipple the ink into those holes. Sometimes it can be kind of hard to get into teeny tiny little spots on a stencil. So if you do a stippling motion where you kind of push your brush through the stencil, that's going to help ensure that you get all of that ink down into those little openings. Once that's done, I can go ahead and peel off my stencil, and you can see how it's darkened up there where all of those little sand dots are. Again, not worried about that bottom portion because it's going to be covered up. On the second stencil, you can see that there are these little lines that kind of go along the ridges of the sand. So I'm not going to put too much ink, but I'm going to go ahead and put this over my piece and line it up. It's really easy to line up with those embossed details. And I'll come in with what's left on my blending brush and just run over those spots just to darken them up a little bit. Peel up my stencil. And if you wanted this to be even darker, you could do another layer of ink or a slightly darker ink color. Now I get to move on to the surf. So I'll start out here with some light blue, and I'm just going to color the entire piece of cardstock in this light blue color. Bring back in my sticky mat here, and I'm going to line up the portions here of the surf that match with the embossed detail and bring in a slightly darker shade of blue for this to color in all of those areas. This is going to give that water some nice variation. Peel off my stencil. Before this next part, I am going to clean off the bottom portion of my stencil because I don't want to get any of that tan ink that I used before. I'll line it up over the top here, and then I'm going to bring in some Distress Grit Paste. This works really well for creating that beautiful kind of surf effect because it has a lot of texture to it. So I'll just evenly apply it all the way through here on my stencil and smooth it all out. Now I can carefully remove my stencil and look how cool that looks. Now to really take this up a notch, I'm actually going to go ahead and lift my entire piece up very carefully, trying not to get my fingers anywhere that they're not supposed to go. And I'm going to bring a little bit of the Distress Paste along the edge. Now this is exactly where the surf is hitting the sand, so it's going to be a little bit more frothy. And so I'm just kind of dabbing my paste onto the edge, making my way all the way across the piece in order to get that nice texture. Once you're done, if you want to make it look a little sparkly, you could add some rock candy glitter or some iridescent glitter over the top. I'm going to leave mine so that it's just white, so I'll set this aside to dry. For my focal point, I've got the Beach Please stamps and dies, and I'm going to stamp out these two chairs with the palm trees. I'm stamping this with some intense black ink, just going to make sure I get some really nice coverage here on the stamp. And I am going to stamp this a couple of times. That's the nice part about using a stamping platform like the Misty. So I will go ahead here and lift this up. It's already starting to look really great, but let's go ahead and do that second stamping to really darken it up. Stamp and lift, and that looks great. I'll start with coloring in our palm trees here, and I'm going to go all the way along the edge here with some 04.6. I'm just taking a straight line all the way up each side of the palm tree, and that's going to help make it look 3D, like it's got some curve to it. Now, I'm also adding a few little detail points in there where the stamp dictates. But then I'll bring in my 4.3 and I'm going to work my way all the way up, doing a little flicking motion back and forth all the way along the tree to help blend out that 4.6. So it'll be lighter towards the center of the trunk of the tree and darker along the edges. For the interior part of the palm tree here, where you have some kind of like of that brown sort of palm bushing up, I don't know exactly what it's called, but I'm going to do a similar thing. I just took my 4.6 and added some detail, and then my 4.3 and blended over the top to blend it out. For my first chair, I'm going to use some RV 1.3 and RV 1.1. I'll start here with the 1.3 and add some shading where I think it looks nice, kind of along those areas that would naturally be shaded from the sun, and then I blended it out with the 1.1. Now I do repeat that whole process just to give it some depth. For my other chair, I'm going to use some Y2.3 and Y1.1, same exact process. And now I'll get started on the palm leaves. I'm using YG 1.6, 1.4, and 1.2. I'm starting with the 1.6 by running it all the way along the center of each of those palm leaves. And now I'll come in with my 1.4 and I'm going to bring that all the way along the edges of the palm leaves. I'm doing a pretty fine line here because I do want to leave some empty space in between the edges and the center of those palm leaves, so that way I can come in with my 1.2, which is my lightest color, and blend everything out together. I'm going to repeat the entire process because that's going to be what helps us build up the color. So you can see there the second time. I'll repeat that same exact thing with the other palm tree. Now you can see here the one on the right I've done twice, but the one on the left I've done once, just to give you a sense of what the difference is between the two. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat it on the left hand side. For our little lights, I'm going to bring in a blue, a pink, and a yellow, and these are just kind of coordinating colors. I wanted to bring a little bit of pop of color. It's kind of hard to see here on the camera, but I'm just randomly dotting the little lights with these colors, no rhyme or reason to it really. I'm going to color my rocks the exact same way that I did everything else. I brought in my Copics here. I've got some neutral grays, so I'll shade the areas that overlap and then just bring in those lighter tones. Now I do have some 04.1 and I'm going to bring this into color all of the sand, the entire base, and then I'll use some 4.3 to add some shading. And before I finish everything off here, I'm actually going to go ahead and bring in the coordinating die and cut out this entire piece because I need to see where the border is going to be in order to ensure that my color works really well. Now you could leave that border white, but I decided to go ahead and color with a very light tan all the way around and get rid of that white. So I'll use some 04.0 and go around everything, and then we won't have any kind of harsh white line. I've added some foam squares to the back of both of my pieces. I'm going to go ahead and remove the release tape on the surf portion. I've removed that, and you can see these squares are a little bit thicker than the ones that I've put on the back of our colored piece. So I'll just line this up in the corner there, press it down, And my other piece, I'm going to tuck slightly behind so that it's a little bit off-centered and looks like the waves are sort of lapping up onto the beach and hitting those rocks in the bottom right-hand corner. I've removed all the release tape, and now I can tuck this in, being careful not to push down in case I need to wiggle things around. Once I've got it where I like it, I can go ahead and trim off the excess here just using my scissors. I have from the same stamp set my sentiment for my card, and these are some pretty fine lines. It's a very scripty font, so I don't want to lose any of those fine lines, so I'm just very lightly pressing down, and I am doing this stamping twice here with the intense black ink. I'll come in next with a coordinating die and cut that out. I did cut out 2 extra, and I'm going to layer these up with some liquid glue, so I'll just go all the way along the die cut and then just layer them up, gently pinching all the way around the edge. Once that's done, I can go ahead and add glue to the back of it, and I'm going to put this towards the bottom right hand corner, but I want it to kind of be centered in the surf, so that way it looks really kind of cohesive. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but it does to me. So I think that looks pretty good there. Last but not least, I'm going to bring in some gems from the Grab Your Passport gems. I've got some light blue ones here, and then these that are kind of a yellowish tan. I think they go along really well with that beachy theme and add just a little bit of sparkle. Now I can go ahead and add some liquid glue all the way along the back, and I'm going to put this on the top of an A2 sized card base. This is a top folding card base, but you could do a side folding as well. And here is our finished card. I absolutely love all the little detail we have, especially with that texture paste there. I think it looks really fun with the surf coming up onto the beach. This would be a super cute birthday card for anybody. All right, guys, I hope you picked up some tips and tricks today. Please be sure to like and subscribe, as well as hit that notification bell so you'll know about future videos here on the Honeybee Stamps YouTube channel. Thank you so much and have a great day.